let's see what options we've got with regard to parameter fields. So if we go into this parameter field and click Edit. So what do we have here? Well, first of all, we have a resizable dialog box, and I do recommend resizing it because there are quite a few things here. So just gives a bit more height. First of all, let's have a look at why there wasn't the drop-down box. Well, there wasn't a drop-down box because this huge area was empty. So even though we'd put in order amount, that didn't actually do anything. So what we need to do is populate this list with the list of static values that the drop-down box will contain. By static value, I mean unchanging values. So for instance, if you think of the ship via, you had FedEx and UPS, there's a list of say 6 values, and you can say these are static values, they are not going to change. We are not going to introduce a 7th carrier. I mean, it's like if you have a database which has classifications of under 18 years old, between 18 and 65, and over 65. Those are 3 categorizations. You can say these are not going to change, they are static. So let's say that this minimum order value was not going to change. Okay, so I'll add the first item. The first item I think was 4.01, and the second item was 465, and I've only got about several hundred of these to do. Is that okay? No? Okay. Well, let's just get rid of those. Thankfully, we do have an alternative rather than just clicking on new and adding an extra one. If you go into actions, we can append all of the database values. Now actually I want to insert an existing word. Append all the existing database values. So if I click that, you'll see that we get all the values from $4.05 all the way down to $8,000, and in fact I think there may be some more in between. No, might be wrong on that. So that puts in all of those values. So if I now click OK and go into here, you can see that there is now a drop-down dialog box. It's a lot more complicated, and it goes all the way from $4 all the way to 8,000. Oh no, it doesn't. 151. Ah, dear. So apparently it is not useful when you've got hundreds of different options. So let's just go back into that. So realistically, there are several things which are wrong with this approach. The first is, this is only a list of all of those values which are currently in the database. If I was to go back into the database and add $4.10, that wouldn't be in this list because it is not a current existing database value. So personally, I wouldn't really think about using drop-down lists for numbers. So if I clear all of this, there we go, that's fine. But let's just have a look at everything else that's here. Oh, and do notice, by the way, the other actions, you can import and export lists from elsewhere. So we can show it on the viewer panel. So either we can show it or not show it, and we can edit it, or we can make it read-only. We can have our prompt text, which is that, enter minimum order value, so we can change that. We can prompt with the description only. Let's see what happens if I change that from true to false and show that. Doesn't look like anything's happened. In fact, there is something which happens to it, but we'll have a look at that in the next lecture because it's not really applicable to, it's only applicable when you have a list. Optional prompt. This is a bit of an advanced option. It's when you have parameters which are optional. The default value, now this is good. this can say, when the report is run, I want there to be a value in the parameter. So the end user doesn't have to type a value, they can just accept what I've put in. So I can say $2,000, that is the minimum order value, unless you tell me differently. So allow multiple values, not really used in this particular example where we're just talking monetary, but be useful in the next lecture. Allow discrete values and range values, similar to the values thing, but then minimum value and maximum value. I might want to say you can't put in less than $1,000 and you can't put in more than 6,000. And then the final thing, which is show value or description, we'll have a look in the next lecture. So for numbers, really it's the prompt, it's the default value, and it's the min and max. So let's click OK. Let's go to the parameters. So please specify a currency value between 1,000 and 6,000. So I'll keep it at 12,000. That's okay, isn't it? That's between 1 and 6,000. Oh no, it's out of range. Right, okay, let's make it 2,000. Let's make it 2,500. There we go. And apply the changes, and there we go. So now if I go back in and save this report, close, open it up again, you can see that it has kept the previous minimum order that I had put in. It doesn't replace it with the default. However, when you publish it, then there is no previous minimum order value added. So then it will keep to the default. So the default value is good, and it's especially good when you run it for the first time. Just be advised that when you open up the report, there might be a non-default value in there. So that is a quick look at what else you can do with regards to this particular parameter, which happens to be a currency.